So you're starting your very first Amazon business, but you want to understand how much money you'll need up front in order to get this product launched. Selling products on Amazon is a great way to start making money online this year, but as with most businesses, you'll need to put some of your own money in up front to create something that'll generate you a profit. And with great opportunities comes increased competition, and with more and more sellers entering the Amazon marketplace these days, you'll need to spend a little bit more up front to stand out from the crowd. And not everyone can afford to start an Amazon business from scratch alone, so hopefully this video can give you some additional information and more clarity around how much you'll actually need to spend. So in this video, I'll start off by listing some of the mandatory costs, or the costs that I think are necessary, and then I'll jump into some optional costs that you don't necessarily need, but could help depending on your needs. So let's start off with our mandatory costs. These are things that you don't want to skip out on. Number one is the Amazon Seller Central account. In order to sell on the Amazon platform, you need a Seller Central account, and with Seller Central, you have two options. You have the individual account and you have the professional account. The individual account is totally free to start, but for each sale that you make, you'll need to pay Amazon $1. And while this may sound like a good option up front, the downside to the individual seller plan is that you won't have access to Amazon's pay-per-click advertising feature, which gets me into the professional account. The professional account costs $40 per month, but it gives you access to the entire Seller Central platform. With the professional account, you have access to the PPC, or pay-per-click advertising feature, which is going to be vital for your product launch. If you're serious about selling on Amazon, my recommendation is to start off with the professional seller account. And if you're worried about the fees up front, a secret tip is that if you don't make any sales and you're paying that $40 monthly fee, you can reach out to Amazon to get a refund on the months that you didn't actually sell any product. So this will give you the freedom to explore and familiarize yourself with the platform without needing to worry about paying $40 per month, especially when you're not actually making money. Next up, we got barcodes. In order to list a product on Amazon, you need a barcode for that product. And when selling on Amazon, you have a couple of main options. One are pricier GS1 labels, and the other is cheaper UPC labels. And while GS1 labels are the industry standard, you can expect to pay hundreds of dollars just for a single GS1 label. So if you're just starting out and you're tight on cash, my recommendation is to go for a cheaper UPC label. You can purchase cheaper UPC labels from an online barcode marketplace, but just keep in mind that a lot of these marketplaces are resellers, so you risk getting barcodes that have already been used before. When I purchased the barcode for my very first product, what ended up happening was when I tried to enter that listing onto Amazon's Seller Central platform, they told me that that barcode was already being used on Amazon. So I had to go back to the barcode reseller and get a whole new batch of barcodes. So remember to double check whenever you get your barcodes to avoid any headache down the road. Next up, we have our business logo. With way more Chinese manufacturers listing directly on the Amazon platform, competition is a lot higher, and branding is one of those ways that you can easily separate yourself from the pack. Expect to spend from $20 to $100 on your company's logo, and my favorite way to do this cheaply is to go on Fiverr.com. There you can find people who are specialized in making specific types of logos, and you can get one turned around in only a couple of days. But before you get your logo made, you're gonna wanna understand what products you wanna sell, and this is what gets us into the next expense: product research tools. So some people say that this step is totally optional, but with higher competition on Amazon, the slight edge that a product research tool can offer you could be the difference between choosing a profitable product or choosing a product that ends up losing you money in the long term. Even if you aren't using a product research tool to choose a product for you, these tools are valuable for a couple of reasons. One, to evaluate new opportunities, and two, to help you avoid wasting time on unprofitable niches. Since time is money and you want to be as data informed as possible, my recommendation is when you're just starting out, get a product research tool. Jungle Scout and Helium 10 are the tools that I personally use, and those run roughly around $50 per month each, but if you want a discount on your first month, I'll leave a link in the description below. My recommendation is to only use these tools when you need them, so don't expect to keep this subscription going forever. So all in all, I'd budget around $100 to use one of these tools to validate your niche. So once we've decided on what type of product we want to make, now we have to find a supplier who can make that product for us. And this is where we get into sample costs. When vetting different manufacturers, samples are a huge part of the process. You want to make sure your customers are happy and you want to make sure that the product you're sending them is actually going to be high quality. When you're starting your very first product, my recommendation is to order 3 different samples from 3 separate suppliers. Usually sample costs won't be cheap. They could run anywhere from $50 to $100 each, but keep in mind that this is investing for the future, as this could pay off in the long run through fewer returns, happier customers, etc. Now, once we've received our samples, we've vetted them, and we decided on our favorite, next up we have to order our inventory, and this is going to be the biggest cost for us. Keep in mind that when you place your very first order, each supplier is going to have different minimum order quantities and different price ranges, so make sure you ask for prices up front. Since you can sell products all across the spectrum from really cheap to really expensive, keep in mind that this cost can vary widely. But for our purposes, let's just say that our inventory cost is $5 per unit, and we ordered 300 units. The cost of your inventory is gonna be the biggest expense up front, so remember to negotiate on price here, because it can save you hundreds of dollars right off the bat. Up next, we have our shipping costs. And once our products are manufactured, it's time to ship them to the Amazon warehouse. And when shipping products, you have a couple main options. You have air shipping and you have sea shipping. Air shipping is a more expensive, faster option that you might want to go with if you're trying to list your product as fast as possible. But keep in mind that this is going to be a decent amount more expensive than going for a cheaper option like sea shipping. Sea shipping is the affordable, slower option when shipping your products to the Amazon warehouse. Compared to the 2 to 3 week delivery time frame for air shipping, sea shipping could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So keep this in mind before making a deal with your supplier. As a rule of thumb, always assume that sea shipping is going to take longer than your supplier actually quotes you, because you might run into delays caused by customs or shipping and things like that. Similar to our cost of inventory, shipping costs can vary widely depending on how big or small our product is. When you're starting your very first product, my recommendation is to set aside at least $500 for shipping alone, but keep in mind that this might be more expensive if you have a bigger product. Next up, we have product photography. Don't forget that when you're selling products online, your customers don't have the same ability to touch and ask questions about the product, so your photos mean that much more. When you're just starting out, I'd expect to spend a couple $100s on hiring a product photographer or to get some high quality 3D rendered images created. And don't forget to include props that could help tell a story or provide inspiration for your customers. If you're looking for more ways on how to optimize your Amazon product listing, I made a video, I'll link it down below. Just check that one out for more actionable tips. Next up, we have pay-per-click advertising. And this is how you get your product in front of new customers. Let's just say we launch our products on Amazon and we start showing up on page 20. Chances are, customers aren't going to be finding our product on page 20 organically, so you need a way to get it in front of them on one of the earlier pages. And this is where pay-per-click advertising comes in. One of the best ways to kick off your listing and your ranking is to have a PPC campaign ready at launch. Now, the amount of budget that you should have for this initial PPC campaign will vary widely depending on how competitive your niche is. But for our purposes, when we're just starting out, let's budget $200 to start. So there you go, those are all of the mandatory costs. These are things that I wouldn't skip out on when starting out your first Amazon business. We made a couple big assumptions around product cost and shipping cost and things like that, but all in all, we can expect to spend around $2,900 when starting our very first Amazon product. Now, before we hop into the optional costs that could help based off of your business's specific needs, if you're finding value in this video, please smash that subscribe button down below for more videos with actionable tips just like this one. Moving on to our optional costs now. These aren't going to be 100% necessary, but depending on your needs, you may want to consider some of these. Up first, we have custom product packaging. Especially if you're a premium or a luxury brand, having a nice unboxing experience is one of the most effective ways to communicate how much you care to the customer. Hiring a designer to help you stick out from the crowd with a really high quality design is money well spent in my opinion, and this will really help you stand out as a premium brand relative to your competitors. Once you have a box design that you're really proud of, now you can go to your supplier and double check that they're able to accommodate for those changes. Keep in mind that if your design is a little bit too aggressive, you might need to hire a separate box manufacturer, which would increase the cost. Next up, we have our trademark. Trademarking your brand is one of the best ways to unlock new listing features that could increase your product's conversions. More specifically, when you get your brand trademarked, Amazon gives you access to enhanced brand content. Enhanced brand content gives you the ability to create dynamic graphics, images, and videos in your product description, so you don't need to rely strictly on the bullet points and the text that Amazon provides you as a default. The cost of the trademark is going to vary widely depending on what state you're from, but for me in California, it cost about $350. Something to also keep in mind is that the US Patent and Trademark Office needs to review your trademark application, and generally speaking, this could take several months. For me, it took 6 months from start to finish. Our next optional expense is setting up an LLC. An LLC, or a limited liability company, is a business structure that protects your assets in the case that someone tries to sue you. For the vast majority of new Amazon sellers, I'd recommend going with the sole proprietorship, just out of convenience and affordability. But in the case that you're in a niche where customer safety is really important, let's say food products or baby products, in those cases, I'd recommend going for the LLC just to protect yourself in the future. Our next optional cost is influencer marketing. Leveraging social media and influencers to introduce your product to brand new markets is a really good way to increase your brand awareness. If you know exactly what type of audience you want to target, reaching out to influencers that specifically have followings that mirror that audience is a great way to increase your exposure to a really relevant target group. Influencer marketing shoutouts can vary really widely on price, as you can expect, but depending on your niche, this could really easily pay off for you. Our next optional cost is an Amazon course. And I know what you're thinking, Amazon courses are super expensive, but hear me out. When you're starting your very first business, you're buying inventory, you're spending money on advertising. There's so many things that you're actually putting money down on the table for. So you want to make sure that every single time you actually spend money, you're spending it on the right thing. And this is where having an airtight strategy when launching your very first product really comes in handy. Courses will give you actionable step-by-step tips on how to launch the product versus you needing to go on YouTube and piece together all these different videos to create some sort of launch plan. But remember that buying a course won't guarantee your success on Amazon right away. You need to put in the time and effort to actually learn the material and put it into practice. So before you make an investment in a course, be honest with yourself on how much time you're willing to put into it. You want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth at the end of the day. So those are some of the optional costs when starting your very first Amazon business. And this could total an additional $2,500 of upfront investment. So all in all, when starting your very first Amazon business, my recommendation is to start with at least $2,900. And leave a comment below. How much did you spend to start your very first Amazon business? Was there anything that paid off in the long run for you? Amazon FBA is a huge opportunity this year, and it's really my goal to make this process as clear and as transparent as possible. So if you found value in this video, please smash that subscribe button down below for more videos with actionable tips just like this one. Thanks everybody.